Hey everyone, I'm Armor Gaming, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a monster analysis on Lady Solaris. Faith and Fury came together in Lady Solaris. This ambassador of the greater good is capable of anything to get the job done. She doesn't mind becoming a martyr, and if that means her name will be remembered, even better. So this video is going to be pretty interesting in that it's also going to be somewhat of a rant/analysis, and that's just because I'm really confused what's going on with this monster. When I saw this monster initially I was blown away, but then it's very odd because apparently this monster, some people don't think she's that great, and I'm over here like, wow, she's a really great attacker. As far as basic monsters go, and by basic I mean non-War Master, non-Nemesis, non-VIP, well really just non-War Master nowadays, she's a really great monster. Like really great, I think, at least. Definitely one of the best attackers I've ever seen. And I'm really confused why she's being compared to monsters like Shorik or to other light attackers. I think she might possibly, she's definitely in the top 3 light attackers. She might even be number 1. Now, the only thing I can think the reason that she might be considered like not so great is that she's situational or she's this or that, and I'm like, she's not even that situational. But I guess I'll get into the actual analysis and then I can talk about all of my points, because I'm pretty confused. I thought this monster was like a no-brainer. Wow, she's amazing. And like maybe it's just the fact that these War Masters being released are so darn powerful that every monster that gets released is like, they're not impressive, let's wait for the new War Master. But no, this monster is really great. I would say she's like the next generation of top tier monsters. Monsters now are being released with 2 traits, and sometimes a trait is an area trait. Sometimes a trait is a trait that she has that gives her a huge advantage over a whole class of monsters, and that makes her powerful. But without further ado, let's get into the analysis of the stats. Her power is 3476. This is a really great power stat. It may not seem that great compared to some other monsters that recently got released with a high power stat, but in the light category, this is the 3rd highest power stat. It places her in 4th place. First is Patreon with 3553, then is Taiga and Light with 3498, but then is this new monster with 3476. Impressive power stat. And the average of all light monsters, the average power stat is actually 3319. So as you can see, really great powerful attacker. As for her life stat, it's 31667, which places her in 13th place. And the average for light monsters tends to be 29727, so even her life stat is well above average. And lastly, her speed stat is incredible, especially for an attacker monster, 3509. This is an incredible speed stat. It actually makes her the 3rd fastest light legendary monster. The only ones faster than her are Kasaya and Lao Lao. Kasaya has 3630 and Lao Lao has 3553. So then next is Lady Solaris. So she's a powerful attacker. Once again, the 3rd highest power stat, and she's also has the 3rd highest speed stat in the light category with a slightly above average life stat. As for her trait, she is hardened and she has Spirit Hater. Spirit Hater means she automatically deals triple damage against spirit monsters. Now let's find out who is in the spirit category. So we're gonna type legendary, we're gonna go to spirits, let's show more. Looky here, we have some powerful monsters. Exclusively Samael, the Nemesis monster, he's a spirit monster. Lum, also a Nemesis monster. Zyron the Ruby, also a Nemesis monster. 3 of the Nemesis monsters are in the Spirits book, and this monster immediately, right from the get-go, deals triple damage against them. How insane is that? Also some more notable monsters, Gakora, Baron Trader, Talika, War Master Necromancer, even one of the Necromancers, she automatically deals triple damage. And Jelotron. And what's more, Necromancer and Sammy, they're dark based, so you actually have a 50% damage boost against them and triple damage against them from the get-go without even looking at her skills or anything. She obliterates the Spirits book. She kills Sammy, she kills Zyron, she kills Lum if she needs to, even though they're both light monsters. Maybe that one's a little iffy, but that triple damage definitely helps. Like, I'm so darn impressed. And she kills Necromancer easily. And again, we haven't even started talking about anything. And then as for her relic, she can hold the sword relic, so something like Jakugan's sword. Let's level this up, let's just max it out. After hitting the target's life is 50% or lower, it deals an extra 12,000 points of physical damage to all enemies. And again, with that boost against spirit monsters and being light based, having that extra elemental damage against dark monsters, she can easily get them well below 50% and then deal extra damage to everyone else. So very powerful. She can also hold the mask relic. So if you give her like a Balthazar's mask, when the turn starts, if the wearer's strength is increased by 2,520 points. So incredible relics that you can put on this monster for an attacker. And then for the mask, you could also give her a healing mask if you want her to have a little more survivability. But really, I would just go raw damage, increase your damage as much as possible, and then she is just this monster of a monster. And again, I feel like, I could be wrong, but I feel like when a monster has something like Spirit Hater, people start thinking, oh, this monster is so niche, it's only situational, she can only be used against spirit monsters. And then it's like, oh, Sammy and Ruby don't even share a book with Lady Solaris, so she's not good. And I'm like, what? Just because they don't share a book, the monster's not good? How does that make any sense? In a Team Wars, like you can see right now, it's always 3 rules. It's not like you're limited to 1 restriction. So it doesn't even matter if a monster doesn't share the same book with another monster. Like, they can still be in the same matchup. For example, look at my Baylor and my Ruby. I don't think they share a book, but they're still in the same war. Why? Because in every single war scenario, there's 3 different restrictions. So if a monster happens to be in any of them, and the other monster happens to be in any of them, there's a high likelihood they're gonna meet each other. And when you look at all the books Ruby's in, when you look at all the books Sammy's in, and all the books that Lady Solaris is in, I think it is very, very, very likely they're going to meet each other in war frequently. So I really don't understand that they're not in the same book argument as for why this monster isn't good, especially when she is in good legions, she's in families, and she is a female monster. And actually, she does share a book with Zyron, and Zyron is also a good legions monster. So it's very, very possible they could end up meeting, even again if the restriction isn't limited to their books. And another argument I heard against this monster is because she has extra turn skills, that oh, she's not good because Faraday exists. Well, if you're going to use the argument that Lady Solaris isn't good because she doesn't share the same book as Sammy, you do realize she also doesn't share the same book as Faraday, so your own argument works against you. So I don't know, the train of thought is just confusing me. The logic is all over the place, but I'm just trying to say that it doesn't matter that she's not in the same book. So many great monsters aren't in the same book, but they're good because, like, standalone, they're just great monsters, and then when the war restriction calls for that monster, they become even better. But Lady Solaris, just right off the bat, I'm blown away by her stats. Her trade is incredible. I feel like she was specifically designed to be a nemesis killer. More specifically, I feel like she was designed to be this Sammy killer. It breaks my heart, but she is there just to obliterate Sammy in 1 hit. Even without the best runes, even if it's a 130 Sammy, you are going to take him down. So yeah, she's in good legions, she's in family, she's a female. Keep in mind she's a light monster, she's a legendary monster. That is 5 potential restrictions she can be in. If we exclude the common through epic rarity, then I think, I may be wrong, someone can check my math, but I'm pretty sure the only restrictions then is legendary, 9 elements, which is 10, and 15 books. So there's a total of 25 restrictions, and she can be in 5 of those restrictions. So 5 out of what, 25? She covers 20% of the books. You're telling me you're not going to run into her in a team war where there's a Sammy or Ruby? I highly, highly doubt that. I think it's very, very possible. So anyhow, that's Lady Solaris. Let's move on. You know, I'm going to go all out of place in this video just because, again, it's kind of a rant. Ignoring the whole Spirit Hater thing, if we scroll down and look at this skill right here, Opulent Eradication, heavy light damage to an enemy. If we just stop right there, it's a 70 damage light based attack. Normally people would be all over this skill like, wow, she's so powerful, 70 damage, only 27 stamina cost, a 2-turn cooldown. That is a powerful, powerful attack. Because it is, like most monsters, 70 is usually like the highest we get. Sure, there's some monsters that have a 75, there's a monster that has an 80, sure, Barbatos has a 90, but yeah, you know, Barbatos kind of kills himself. He takes away like, what, half of his life, 30% of his life, 20% of his life, whatever. I think it's 30%, Master of Pain. And then yeah, other monsters, they might have powerful attacks, but typically 70 is like the tip for monsters for a single damage skill. But this skill goes on to give you evasion. This, I can't find a better skill than this. As soon as the monster attacks with 70 damage, keep that in mind, 70 damage light based, she's gonna protect herself. You don't need another monster to protect her. You don't need to immobilize the enemy. You protect yourself automatically. How incredible is that? This is by far one of the most powerful single target skills, one of the most powerful attacker skills I've ever seen. Evasion, especially since evasion now protects you against stamina drain and cooldowns activated, it is so darn powerful. And I can't believe it's on a 2-turn cooldown. This is super significant when we talk about the other skills. So again, like, ignore the fact that this monster, I wouldn't even say this monster is situational. Ignoring, if this monster didn't have Spirit Hater, if you later on she has a skill called Winged Hater, if she doesn't have any of that, she would still be incredible and I would use her all the time. So anyhow, let's just quickly go over her skills. Her ultimate is awesome. Massive light damage to everyone, removes positive effects, and applies sunburn. Great, no arguments for me there. Friend Finisher, all of these aren't worth talking about. Skills group 2. Demon Codex deals moderate light damage, applies Winged Hater to itself. So she can also kill the winged monsters. Let's take a look at who is winged. And we are going to notice someone pop up again. There he is, Sammy. Again, I feel like she was specifically designed to kill Sammy. So she can give herself triple damage against Sammy because he's in the Spirits book. And she can give herself an additional triple damage against Sammy because he's also in the Winged book. Wow! And then the 50% damage boost from the elemental difference. Wow, she's a killer. And take a look at this. Even War Master Elvira has something to fear because she's a winged monster, and even the Inheritor. So it's not like she's a one-trick pony. Even General Ingvar and General Nishin, Gritty Dragon, very popular monsters in the Winged book that she can give herself a boost against. So she's not really that situational. She's nothing like Shork. She's just a standalone powerful monster. But honestly, Demon Codex isn't even that much of a great skill. Let's move on. Cunning Blows, moderate light damage, 50% chance of applying bleeding to one enemy and a guaranteed sunburn. 35 damage with that sunburn and bleeding. It's kind of a weak skill, although it could definitely be utilized. It has a 1-turn cooldown. I'll talk a little more about Cunning Blows because I think it is a potential skill you can use. But first, let's move on to Consult the Grimoire. Removes all negative stat effects from itself. That is super important. Applies damage boost to itself, and 1 extra turn to itself requires cooldown. So this monster has a self 50% damage buff, and it removes any negative effect. What more can you want from an extra turn skill? That's great if you had any blind, any total blind, if you had a daze, if you had some negative ailment like bleeding or poison. Let's say the enemy Sammy went, hit you with bleeding, hit you with poison, your damage output is reduced. It doesn't matter. You get rid of that. You give yourself a damage buff, a 50% damage buff. You have a 50% damage increase for the elemental advantage, and then you have Spirit Hater, and then you have a light-based attack that will give you evasion. How incredible is that? Consult is such a powerful skill. This is a must-have skill. And again, the argument of like, oh, but Faraday exists, and so does Taijin, and what does that matter? I don't understand why that matters. If Faraday could exist, it's like Faraday exists. That doesn't mean that Voltic and Zyla and Prince Charmless just suck. No, they don't suck. It's just a matter of knowing when to use the monster. She could probably OTK Voltic, to be completely honest, because of the 70 damage skill, and being able to give her a mask, and being able to give her Jakugan Sword. So I don't even know. Or not Voltic. She can OTK Faraday. Unless Faraday has a life rune, then obviously you can't. But anyhow, let's keep going. Demonic Manuscript applies Winged Hater to itself, gives 1 extra turn. So there it is. Look at everything she can do. She was specifically designed to kill Sammy. So Consult, which will give her damage boost for 2 turns, no negative effects, so she doesn't have to worry about missing because of her accuracy being decreased. Her damage output isn't going to be decreased. She now has Winged Hater and an immediate extra turn, so she has Winged Hater, she has Spirit Hater, she has a 50% damage buff, she has a 70 damage light-based attack. So against a Sammy specifically, how much damage are you dealing to that poor monster? You're obliterating him. Do you need any strength runes? I don't know. I really don't. Triple damage, and 2 50 damage percent increases with a 70 damage attack. I don't know. Like, this monster is so crazy. And again, if you just look at what books she kills, or what monsters in the book she kills Elvira, she kills Inheritor, she kills Sammy. Looking at winged monsters, or spirit monsters, I mean. She kills Lum, she kills Sammy, she kills Zyron, she kills Necromancer, she kills Jalotron, Gakora, Talika. She is so darn powerful. Even Shannara's Bodyguard, very popular monster on defense, very tanky, but she can give herself triple damage against them, and a 50% damage buff, and she just has this powerful 70 damage skill. Alright, let's keep going. Then her AoE. I've also heard a lot of arguments against this AoE, saying it's bad AoE. I don't understand why it's a bad AoE. It's a pretty good AoE to me. Light of Justice, moderate light damage applies Sunburn. Maybe it's because of the 3rd damage, but keep in mind, because this monster has Consult, all of her skills, you can kind of see them as always having a 50% increase. Now, of course, against a Faraday, you got to be careful, because if you do this skill before doing your other attack, Faraday gets an extra turn in. But then you also have to ask yourself, like, what's Faraday really going to do? He might stun you. Maybe he does a bleeding and poison skill against you. That's very possible. But for the most part, Faraday getting a turn in after you do an extra turn, like, you're not in that much of a threat, if that makes sense. Maybe he single targets one of your other monsters. Maybe he does do an AoE. Maybe he hits you with Sunburn. But I think for the most part, you're kind of safe. But again, if you are fighting Faraday, just don't do an extra turn skill. You would start off with Eradication. You could hit someone. You could potentially OTK someone. But assuming there's no Faraday, there's no monster that can take advantage of Anticipation trait, then most of the times, again, you do Consult and then you do Light of Justice. This is a 40 damage AoE skill. 45 damage, my bad. 45 damage AoE that applies Sunburn. And again, if you have the mask, it's so powerful. If you have Jakugan Sword and you take the monster below 50%, they're gonna take extra damage from Jakugan Sword. And then we look at Opulent Rate Eradication. Again, 70 damage. I've seen the argument that 70 damage isn't that much. You know, people have pointed to monsters like Taiga. Taiga, what does Taiga have? He has a 70 damage skill that applies bleed. I'm sorry, I'd prefer 70 damage light base that applies evasion. Let's see, what else does he have? He has a 45 damage light based AoE. Okay, technically, so does Lady Solaris, and it applies Sunburn. Deadly Artifice, 30 damage bleeding. Okay, Lady Solaris, 45 damage. And Sunburn. We have Patreon, who has a pretty high power, right? And same relics, only in 2 books, exclusive and good legions. So Lady Solaris gets a lot more usage. But then this monster is more attacker based. Limbreaker, 70 damage and bleeding. Also removes positive effects from one enemy. That's really good. Shining Blue Blade, 45 damage Sunburn and self damage boost. That's nice and all. But again, Lady Solaris, she technically does have a 45 damage AoE skill. She does. And Limbreaker, they both have a 70 damage skill. This one applies bleeding, but I'd rather take the evasion. Now, of course, he does have a 40 damage special based AoE, but I'm sorry, I think I would rather prefer Lady Solaris. And then people have even brought up Lathe, because Lathe has, which one is it? An 80 damage light based attack? That's cool and all, but he's only in good legions. And he can hold the mask and armor, but you get more advantage out of the sword from an attacker. And the speed stat, the life stat, well, mostly the speed stat, I don't know. I'm sorry, like, yeah, they both have Hardened, but Lady Solaris gets to take advantage of abusing anytime there's a spirit monster. Automatic abuse against that monster. And again, it's very likely that she runs into a monster that happens to be in the Spirits book, even if the restriction doesn't call for it. So yeah, I'm really confused. And maybe it was just mostly the wiki comments that saying this monster is very basic, comparing them to Shork. I just don't understand. I really don't. So yeah, Light of Justice, great skill in my opinion. Eradication. If you just do Consult and Eradication against any, once again, let's ignore Spirit Hater, let's ignore Winged Hater. This is a 105 damage skill. Do you understand that? This is 105 damage. Because the 50% damage buff makes it 35 damage stronger. You have a single target 105 skill that grants you evasion. What more do you want out of an attacker? This has the potential to OTK a lot easier than other monsters. And again, if there so happens to be a spirit monster, well, now you're dealing triple damage, ignoring Consult. If there's a spirit monster on the enemy team, bam, you got it. Like 210 damage from a basic skill, from a regular attack, not an ultimate, not anything, just automatic 210 damage. And I feel like it's only a matter of time before we get enemies, or before we get monsters with skills like this monster. Maybe, I don't know, maybe this kind of too far out there. But I feel like it's only a matter of time before we get monsters that do a skill like this monster makes the enemy in the Spirits book for 2 turns or for 3 turns. It just kind of feels that way because we have all the Hater skills. And I feel like it's an additional way to take advantage of Hater. It's almost like you make the monster, you put the monster in a book. That'll be a negative effect. This monster is in the Winged book. So then you can take advantage of other skills like Demonic Manuscript. But man, oh man, I'm really confused how Lady Solaris is like being seen as not a good monster, because if, again, ignoring the haters and the hater skills, she is like just a phenomenal monster. 70 damage evasion skill. If we just look at that, 35 damage Sunburn, a 50 damage buff, self buff extra turn skill, making this 45 damage, making this 105. If we just look at this, she's incredible. This Demonic Manuscript and her trait Spirit Hater is just icing on the cake. It makes her, it's more than icing, it makes her so incredible in my opinion. So another cool thing you can do, if you start the game off with Eradication and you can OTK, that's awesome, because on your next turn, you realize you can run Demonic Manuscript, give yourself Winged Hater for 3 turns, right? This is on a 2-turn cooldown. So you do Eradication, you kill a monster, you're not gonna get frozen, you're not gonna get stunned, you're not gonna get possessed. The enemy can't touch you. On your next turn, you use Demonic and you do Consult. You now have a 50% damage buff and you have Winged Hater. And guess what? You reset the cooldown on this so you can do Eradication again. Which pretty much means that you can kill a monster again, because now it's stronger from Consult, and if there happens to be a winged monster, it's even more stronger. Isn't that cool? So this monster can attack with 70 damage on turn 1. You can't be touched. You can do extra turn skills to go back to Eradication and use it again and give yourself evasion again, and you're protected again. Look at that. It's possible because your stamina cost is so darn low. 27 and 21 and 25 and 27 again. Easily you can cycle that. And then As for the fourth and final skill, obviously I would recommend you run Light of Justice, but also this is where Cunning Blows could technically come in handy, because if you were, for example, to run this monster, and you were to do that Eradication on turn 1, Eradication on turn 2, then on your third turn, you wouldn't really need much of a use for an AoE, so Cunning Blows could come in handy, especially if you could take advantage of the Winged Hater. I think that's why we have this skill on a 1-turn cooldown, just for like taking advantage of Winged Hater or for taking advantage of Spirit Hater and having that 95% accuracy. For example, if you run into a Sammy, you have the Spirit Hater, which is triple damage, so this is what, 35 times 3, and then you have Demonic Manuscript, which is Winged Hater, so another triple. Then you have the Light Elemental Advantage, so even this skill I feel like could kill a Sammy. You don't need the 70 damage skill, but obviously it's better. I think as far as skills go, I think it's pretty obvious this is gonna be your go-to skill set. Also, I think this monster is incredible on defense because she's pretty much AI proof. Even if you get like possessed, it doesn't matter because there's a 50% chance you're gonna do an extra turn skill. And if you do an extra turn skill, the enemy is gonna get hit with either Light of Justice or Eradication. And if they do get hit with Eradication, on defense the AI also gives themselves evasion, so they're protected. If you end up doing Light of Justice, well then you get Sunburn to the enemy, so they lose 15% of their life for the next 3 turns and their accuracy is reduced. So no matter what you do on defense, you're pretty much good. And again, even if you do get possessed, 50% of the time it helps you out because you're just going to do an extra turn skill, give yourself a buff, and then you're going to hit the enemy hard. And even if you were to hit your own teammate with Eradication, well then she still gives herself evasion. So then on the next turn, Light of Justice is the next feasible skill that's going to come up against the enemy. So she's a great monster on defense. She's a great offensive monster. I personally believe she was specifically made to kill Sammy. She also kills the Nemesis. She kills a good amount of the Nemesis. She also kills Elvira, kills Necromancer. She's just a great monster. I don't understand how this monster is getting any like backlash about not being good, because I think she's definitely good, and maybe I'm just crazy. I don't know. As far as for runes, I think she's definitely an attacker. You don't even need to give her individual speed, to be honest, because she has a high base speed. So 2 team speed and a strength. And then at the same time, you really don't need 2 strength, I feel like. So maybe you could do like a team speed, a single speed, and a strength. If you wanted to, you could even give her a life just to make her hard to kill, while at the same time, her just being very powerful that she can kill. Again, just the fact that she can capitalize on the Winged Hater right here, and her own Spirit Hater. I feel like 1 strength rune is going to be enough. I can't really make any claims until this monster gets released and people can actually playtest with her, because I am just curious to see how much damage she can deal against a 130 Sammy with no runes. I feel like it's going to be insane. I feel like it's going to be so darn powerful. Well, I mean, not feel it, like just mathematically, triple damage, 50%, 50%. God, she's insane. And a 70 damage single base skill. She is insane. I really don't understand how she's even being compared to Shork. Shork and this monster don't belong on the same comparison scale. She's in $4, she's in $3, my bad. $3, light monster. She's a legendary monster, so she covers 5 of 25 categories. 20% of the books she's in, or 25%, or 20% of the restrictions. Sorry, like I said, I'm gonna ramble/rant. So she covers a lot of books, has an incredible trait, good relics considering she's an attacker, and then skills wise, like 2 extra turn skills that give you buffs, 1 that removes debuffs, an AoE skill that applies Sunburn, and a single 70 damage skill that gives you evasion on a 2-turn cooldown. I don't know what more do you want from a monster. This is definitely a top tier monster. So runes, typical attacker setup. I'm curious to see what people are going to do with this monster, because I feel like you could also get away with some nifty, like, nah, maybe this is crazy, but I don't know, maybe not, just because I've seen Contrive do it with Patreon. Nah, we'll just leave it there. So overall, just a great monster, but I'm really curious. I want to hear you guys' thoughts. What do you think about this monster? Do you think she's good? Do you think she's not so good? And more importantly, why? Tell me why you think what you think, because just seeing a comment like this monster isn't good doesn't tell me anything. If you can give me a rational reason why she's not good, if you can give me a rational reason for why another light monster is better, I would love to hear it. But right now, just from what I've seen, I would say she's definitely a great light monster. Is she the best? Of course, you could always argue whether or not a monster is the best. Part of me wants to say yes, but at the same time, part of me knows other great monsters exist. But usability, I just feel like she definitely has the most. And again, it's not even so much the Spirit Hater and the Winged Hater. It's just the fact that she has an extra turn skill that gives her a 50% damage buff, and it's that 70 damage skill. That alone, like, if this monster didn't have the hater skills, I don't know, I still think like it's a really weird thing with monsters when they get released and they have a specific niche. People are like, oh, the monster isn't good because the niche sucks or whatever. And it's like, wait, no, it's not. Just look at the other skills. Who's a good example? Patient Cyber, I guess. Patient Cyber got released. He has a nanovirus ability, but you don't really need to capitalize on nanovirus when you can just capitalize on cooldowns activated, and the fact that he has a crazy fast speed. Or even Necromancer is a good example. Necromancer has skills that can revive the enemy, and that's great and all, but you don't even really need to capitalize on that. You can instead capitalize on his other great, amazing skills, even though it's not a new mechanic or anything. But anyhow, I think that's it. My overall thoughts, as many of you probably know, incredible monster. But yeah, please give me your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time.